Hello again, everyone. This is Zombie Kids Rule, and it's time for another RPG Maker MZ tutorial. I am really excited about a lot of the progress I've been making recently. I've been able to build off some stuff that I've learned in the past, and I'm getting much better at looking up the script call reference document and finding my own answers. So I'm really excited about some of this stuff. And the video or the tutorial I want to show on in this video is there's two actually. I want to do one today and then another one when I'm able to. It's a much longer one. And where they came from was the Wizardry series. So Wizardry 6, I can't remember Wizardry 7 as much. I played it a long time ago. Wizardry 8. Those are a series of games I really liked. And they had a lock picking mechanic and a trap disarming mechanic. And recently, I wanted to see if I could recreate it in RPG Maker, and I think I've been successful, pretty much. There's a few pieces that are still missing, but I've kind of recreated the concept of it, and it's not super fancy, but it's the functionality that's working. So let me get my caveats out of the way. This video is going to be just showing a on-screen clickable lock picking. So you get to see tumblers as they go from green to red, and then you can click on them and hopefully lock those tumblers in and see if you can unlock the chest. So the first one, this video is going to be about the lock picking, and then the next video, which is really, it's got a big long, very long event, is all about the disarming of trap system. Again, from Wizardry, I think 6 is the primary one. So I'll do my caveats really fast. The first one is again, I've said this in the past, and I apologize if you haven't seen my videos before. This will be new to you, but if you have, these are my caveats. I'm still new. I've only been doing this for about a year on and off. I've got maybe a little over 200 hours in RPG Maker MZ. Have no experience with previous RPG makers, no experience with coding. Everything I've got up to this point, I've learned as I've been trying to work and experiment with RPG Maker. So I am still new. By all no means am I an expert or anything like that. So what I'm showing is things that I've been able to build, and I've tweaked and I've experimented with, and sometimes I have to ask questions, and I get help from primarily RPGMakerWeb.com, the forum over there. I also try to search for the answers myself, search for JavaScript answers, things like that. But I'm showing a way that seems to work. Doesn't mean it's the best way, doesn't mean it's the most efficient way, doesn't mean it's the way I'm going to keep later on, because I may discover a better way. But it is a way that seems to work based on my testing. I don't spend a lot of time with fancy maps and fancy intros and animations and things like that. Really, what I'm doing is I'm spending all my time testing core functionality. How can I do things in RPG Maker that I might want to put into a game? And the pretty stuff comes later. I'm only making these videos and posting them in the hope that it helps somebody else who's on the same journey that I am. You're trying to figure things out, you're trying to learn how to do things, and you're searching for tutorials, you're searching for help. And that's the only reason I'm doing these videos. There's that. And I can't remember if I have another caveat. I probably do, but basically, this isn't the only way to do it. There may be better ways to do it. Everything I do right now is pretty much without plugins. I'm not an expert. I'm still learning. I'm still getting help, and I'm just making these non-fancy just to see if I can put stuff out there that is helpful for people. All right, so let me show you. I'm going to show you both the lock picking thing I've been able to make and I'll just highlight the trap disarming. And then another video is going to be the disarming of trap because it is huge. The event is huge. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my play test here. Okay, so first thing, my character is going to go over here, and like I said, there's going to be, well, I'll just click it and show you. So what happens is that in Wizardry, I can't remember which version, but essentially you have these tumblers that are going from green to red, and you're going to click to see if you can lock those tumblers in. Green means you're successful, red means you aren't. And then if you can get them all green, then you'll unlock the lock. So I can do these in any order I want. So I'm going to start here first, and it happens to be a green. Success. Yay! These ones are still tumbling, you can see. I'm also going to show you I'm trying to move, and I can't move, right? So my player's stuck. So I'm going to do this one next. Oh, it's green too. Awesome. So now I just got to get this one. So it's scrolling along. Ooh, I failed. Okay, so ultimately I failed to pick the lock. Okay, so I'm going to try it again. I'll show you I can do it in any order. Red, so I failed off the bat. Success, success, I still failed, right? Now, I'm going to go, so, and you can do that as many times as you want, basically, right? There's no, and you have to get all three. And the numbers behind it, as far as how successful you are, those can be tweaked. This is just the functionality. I'm just showing that you can do something like this. And I'll just show one more thing. These boxes here, I simply made these in in Paint. It's very quick and easy. I am not very good at Photoshop and GIMP and all this other stuff. I just went into Paint, made a quick box, colored it green, and then made another one and colored it red. And that's all. And these are just icons. So that's all these are, is icons. Still didn't do it. Okay, so now this next one, all I did was I tweaked it a little bit, and I went out and I found a graphic. Right now, obviously, I couldn't use this in in a real game, because I just took this off the internet to practice with. But the concept is you could have a graphic behind that is like, say, a treasure chest, and then these could be on the treasure chest, make it look really cool so that you're looks like you're trying to unlock the chest, right? So that's just I just was messing around with that. So again, same functionality here, and I'm doing terrible on this one. And I failed. Okay, so that's all it is. Boom, and boom, boom. Yay! Look at that. I got success. All of them. And I picked the lock. Okay. So anyway, that's the two lock picking thing. Okay. Now I'll just highlight the trap, the chest trap. So here it is. You click on this, and just ignore the fact that this opens. I just didn't do anything fancy with this. All right. So it says, here's your hint. BMCO. Basically, it's a jumbled up letters from these possibilities. Select the trap you want to try to remove. Now, there's B's in all of them. There's M's in all of them. There's two C's, and there's all O's. So basically, this could either be acid bomb, or it could be ice bomb, right? It could be either one of those. I don't know which one. I can cast a spell, and it can increase. Now you'll notice over here there's a question mark, meaning that I did reveal a letter, but then I couldn't figure out what it was. So I built that in as well. So this one I can tell because there's an A, and only one of these has an A, acid bomb, right? So now here's the good thing. So this works better with the more traps you have with the more similar letters, right? But now I can try to disarm it, or I could say, hey, I'm not going to touch that. If I say I'm not going to touch it and I come back, it says, hey, you inspected this before. Do you want to disarm it? Yep, it gives me the exact same clue. Or it says, hey, you inspected this before. I want to re-inspect it. And then it says, hey, you're the same level. If you do this again, you're going to get a -1 penalty. And I didn't build in the choice for them to back out, which I could. And then so he gets a penalty now, and now he only got one, right? He only got one hit. So let's try to cast a spell. You got three. That's even worse. But I know it's the same trap. It's still acid bomb. So now it does a skill check, and it takes the die 20 roll plus Reed's thieving skill plus 2 bonus for choosing the right trap. But I'm gonna fail because I know what I set it at, and I trigger the bomb anyway. Okay, so that's just kind of a precursor of the disarm trap. There's a lot behind that, but up here again, one more time, is just really quickly. You're basically able to click any of these three in any order you want. It locks it in, and of course, if you don't get all greens, then you're going to fail. Okay, and again, you can tweak the numbers behind it. All right, so now let's take a look and see how it's doing it. Okay, sorry, I had to pause there for a second. All right, so what's it doing? All right, so it's basically doing these, of course, are the events you saw me click on. There are these three invisible events up here. They're invisible. They don't have a graphic to them, so the player can't see them. They're off the walkable area of the map. But these are essentially what is making the green and red rotate on the screen. And then there's also common events. So I have three common events. Common event 60, lock chest, and then lock chest test 2. So that's lock chest test, lock chest test 2, lock chest test 3. They're almost identical. So common event 60, 61, and 62. And then, of course, these are what's triggering it because I'm interacting with them. So let's take a look at the first one. So what's happening here is that it's on page one. So this crystal is there and it's kind of flashing or whatever it's doing. Same as character, so I can interact with it. Action button. First thing it's doing, it's setting four variables. Now the variables should be 0 when the game starts anyway, but I'm just resetting these because by doing this, it also allows me to click on the crystal again, and it basically resets each time. So that means I can test it over and over and over again. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do, even though these variables are probably 0 when the game first starts, I'm setting them to 0. So first variable, 228, locked chest attempt tracking equals 0. I'm tracking how many times I've attempted to unlock this. All right. Locked chest result equals 0. Okay. And then tumbler total equals 0. So there's three tumblers, but there's tumbler total 0. Tumbler result, right? So whether I was successful or not is set to 0. And I'll show you how I'm using these in just a minute. So the next thing, so these four variables get set to 0, right? Now, the next one, set movement route of the player. You saw this in my previous tutorial. This is freezing the player in place, right? So it's set movement route player, no commands, repeat movements, do not wait. That's freezing the player in place. The player can't move. Then from here down to here, this is basically putting the three boxes of the green and red buttons and the icons. That's what's being placed on the screen, and the icons are clickable. So first thing, plugin command, right? Text picture. I showed this in a previous tutorial. So this is the plugin text picture, and there's only one command. You get to set the text you want, and I'm just using a /I for icon, and it's the icon in the first position where the icons are stored. The 0 position is just a blank, and 1 is the first icon. And so what that's doing is it's setting the text to icon, so it's going to show a picture of an icon, and then that plugin requires that you have a blank image. So picture 1 is a blank image, which is going to become that icon. And I said where I wanted it, right? I just played with the X and Y variable, the pixels, right? These are pixels. I did direct designation of the X and Y by pixels, and upper left just means it's the upper left corner of the picture that you're displaying rather than the center of the picture. Messed with the scale, right? Opacity, normal. I mentioned this in a previous video. So once I had the first one set, then I just set the next two, right? The second and the third, and I just tweak them. I honestly just tested it a bunch of times to put them exactly where I wanted them. So text icon, there's the picture, and then this is calling the common event, right? So button picture plugin, which I highlighted in a previous video. There's only one command name. It's picture number one, right? So you can change the picture. And then the common event, right? I'm just double clicking. You're picking the common event that you want. And this one's calling the locked chest test. Okay. And then I repeat that 3 times. So I do another icon. So this is just a copy and paste, right? The plugin command is just a copy and paste. I changed the picture number to 3, but essentially I copied and pasted this line to here, changed the picture number, and then I changed the X from 205 to 305, left the Y the same, and then of course left the scale and left everything else. Then I copied and pasted this plugin, button picture, and then I just changed the picture to 3 because that's what this picture is, and then changed the common event to 61. And then I did it again. I basically copied and pasted this here to here, because it's the exact same thing, still showing the icon, same icon. Then I copied and pasted this to here, changed it to a 5. Remember, it's none because the picture is going to actually be the icon. And then I changed the 305 to a 405. The Y stayed the same, right? Everything else stayed the same. Then I copied and pasted this down here, and then just changed the picture to 5 to match the icon, and then common event to 62. So once I did one, right, this, and this, I just copied them twice down here, and then tweaked the settings. And then the last thing this is doing is it's turning on control switches. So it's turning on locked chest attempt switch number 25 is on, locked chest attempt 2 is being turned on, and locked chest attempt 3 is being turned on. So switch 25, 26, and 27. And I'm not showing you how to put these in. I've done this in previous videos, right? Where if you just basically double click anywhere, it pulls up your event commands. You have multiple tabs, and in this particular one, we're doing control switches, and I'm deciding which switch, and I'm setting it to on, and then of course variables, right? So why am I setting 3 switches here at the end, right? So I set my variables to 0 so that when I came back, I could retest this again over and over and over again. And then I set my movement route to freeze the player. And then I did my 3 icon clickable pictures and the actual squares, right? The red, green squares. And and it's I'll show you. Actually, let me do it here. So with the I just pick the picture, right? But when I go here, let me see, just double click. And when I go to show picture, whoops, page 2, show picture, here is the things here. So I did the green box. So again, I just made that in paint. Here is my locked chest picture. And then here is my red box. Those are the 3 that I needed to have. Okay, for the whole thing. Okay. All right. So then what we done here is, so why am I setting these switches? Okay, well, so sure, doesn't matter. Those switches are what's turning these events to the next page. So when I click here, it's invisible because there's no image. It's below characters, they can't walk on it anyway. It's not doing anything. It's just sitting there waiting. When I turn that switch on, when we go to event page 2, the condition is the switch locked chest attempt. Okay, no, switch 25. So here's switch 25, locked chest attempt. If that is on, then the conditions for this page are met, and so this is going to run. So what happens is when you first are on the map, this is just sitting there doing nothing. As soon as I click on that crystal and it gets down to the bottom of the event and it turns the switch on, it activates this page. It is set to parallel, meaning it's going to run with other events at the same time. And all it's doing is I start a loop and I have a control variable for a D6 roll, basically random number 1 to 6. If the result is a 1, so if the variable D6 roll equals 1, I'm going to show the picture number 2, the green box, and I'm going to say where it goes. Okay, I'm going to say where it goes. And I'm going to wait 1 frame, just 1/60th of a second. And I do that 6 times because if the result is a 2, I'm still showing picture 2. It's still a green box. Wait 1 frame. If it's a 3, it's still picture 2. It's a red box this time. Everything else is the same. If it's a 4, it's a green box, still picture 2, everything else is the same. You notice the X and Y's don't change because I want that box to stay in place and the colors to just flip through. If it's a 5, it's green. If it's a 6, it's red. So what that's saying is for that first colored box, there are 4 chances for it to be green and only 2 for it to be red. So the likelihood that it's going to be green is much better. Then once it's gonna randomly decide which box am I going to show, green or red, roll of 1 through 6. Then it's going to check something. If locked chest attempt is off, right? That's this. If this is off, if this switch is off, then break the loop. Okay. If not, then repeat above. So it's going to go back up here. It's going to do it all over again. And so while you sit and wait, those colors, red and green, are just going to flip, 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 until this locked chest attempt switch gets turned off. And the other events are doing the exact same thing. Here's this event: first page, blank, no image, below characters. When lock chest attempt number 26, 2 is on, right? Because that's what that crystal event's doing. Then it's going to do the same thing. Only it's the same loop. So basically I just copied and pasted the event, right? I just right clicked, copied, and then clicked down and I pasted it. That's all I did. And then I changed it. So I changed the variable to D6 roll times 2 because you can't use the same variable for all 3 of these events, right? Maybe you could, but it would not be safe. It would not be good at all. So I'm having 3 variables, but the rest of this is the same. So if the D6 roll times 2 is 1, then it's a picture 4 this time, green box, and it's at the X and Y coordinates that it needs to be. If it's a 2, it's still picture 4. Now it's a red box, right? And I just basically copied and pasted this 6 times and then changed it. Either changed the green and the red, and then of course changed this, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5. And so in this one you see it's green, red, green, red, green, red, which means it has an equal chance of being green or red. The first one had a much better chance of being green. This one is equal chance of being red or green. Waiting one frame, 1/60th of a second, and then it's going to check. Is lock chest attempt 2 off? That means is this switch off? If it's still on, right? If it's off, it's going to break the loop. Otherwise, it's just going to drop down, repeat, go to the top. And remember, this is a parallel event. So that means all 3 of these events can run at the same time while you're down here. Actually, while you're in the common event as well. And then this is the exact same thing for the third green and red flashing square. So it starts blank, blank image, below characters. The second page is a condition of a switch, lock chest attempt 3. If that's on, then this page has the highest conditions, so this is active. Same loop, right? Just copied and pasted the event. Only now it's a different variable. D6 roll times 3, right? 1 to 6. If it's a 1, it's picture 6. It's a red box. You had to tweak the X coordinates. If it's a 2, it's a red box. Still number 6, red box, right? If it's a 3, it's a green, still 6. If it's a 4, it's red. If it's a 5, it's red. If it's 6, green. So this is the exact opposite of the first one, where there was 4 greens and 2 reds. This one has 4 reds and 2 greens. And so these are all rotating at different results. Then this does the exact same thing. It checks to see on the conditional branch if lock chest attempt 3 is off, then it's going to break the loop. Otherwise, it's going to drop down, repeat, jump to the top. And so why until these switches get turned off, right? So this turns the switches on, and until those switches are turned off, right? It's going to keep just looping through red, red, green, red, green, red, green, red, green. Now, so that's what these are doing. But when I click the icon, that's what's calling the common event, 60, 61, 62. So if I click the first icon underneath the first flashing square, it's common event 60, second one is 61, third one is 62. So we go to the common events, okay, 60. These are all pretty much identical. First thing it does is it turns off that switch for that event. Locked chest attempt is off. It turns the switch off, which that then sends this back to this page, right? It was here. As soon as the switch gets turned off, it goes back to this page, right? That's the first thing that this common event does, turns the switch off. It's going to wait 5 frames, so 5/60ths of a second. Then it's going to do a die 6 roll, which you can reuse at this point. It's fine. Now it's going to check. This is the stuff that you just have to set yourself. If the die 6 roll, if that variable is less than or equal to 4, right? So the chances that I had were 4 greens, right? So if it's less than or equal to 4, then it's going to show the picture number 2 of the green box in the same spot as it's supposed to be. Then it shows a text, success. Then it takes the 2 variables. Tumbler total is +1. Tumbler result is +1, meaning I have now clicked one of the tumblers, and it's added a 1 to that total, which was 0. This is necessary to allow you to click any of those 3, right? And it's adding up to figure out, when do I stop? When do I finish this? When do I exit this? Tumbler total is just how many tumblers have been clicked. This one is what was the result. So if it's green, it's adding 1. So the tumbler result goes from 0 to 1. Else, meaning that if it's 5 or a 6, right, then it's going to show picture 2, red box, so we were unsuccessful, in the same spot. It's going to show you failed. Tumbler total is still +1 because I've clicked on a tumbler. The tumbler result is going to be -1. So it's taking 1 away. So if this is the first tumbler I clicked, I went from being a 0, tumbler result was 0, and if I fail, it's a -1 now. And so I think you can probably see where this is going. In order to be successful, my tumbler result has to be at least equal to 3. If it's less than 3, I failed. Okay? And then what this is doing is it's taking the variable lock chest attempt tracking +1. This is where I'm saying, hey, how many times have I tried to do this? Because then what's going to happen is it immediately is going to check. Because at this point in time, this common event doesn't know if it's the first icon to be clicked, the first tumbler, or the third, or the second. So it's going to change this variable, lock chest attempt tracking +1, if the lock chest attempt tracking variable is equal to 3. That means if I've done this 3 times now, I've clicked on 3 icons, then it's running a script. It's going to clear all the pictures from the screen, and then it's going to free the player, right? So if you remember, I highlighted this in another video. So $game capital screen dot clear capital pictures with parentheses, that clears all the pictures from the screen. So you don't have to sit here and go erase picture 1, erase picture 2, erase picture 3. You can clear them all. And then this is just set movement route of the player, no commands, no repeating, and that's what frees the player. That allows them to walk again. Okay? So that's, and then that's it. That's it, right? So conditional branch, checking to see if I've clicked it 3 times. If I haven't, then it just exits. It's done. It's like, okay, I'm done for now. Then this common event is the exact same thing. First thing it does, turns off that switch for the second event, for that second invisible event up here. Turns that off. Waits 5 frames. Rolls the die 6 times 2, 1 to 6. Now this one, remember how the red and the green were equal distributed? 3 reds, 3 greens. So if the roll is less than or equal to 3, then it's going to show picture 4 a green box, meaning success. And then it adds 1 to the tumbler total, adds 1 to the tumbler result. Else, meaning if it's a 4, 5, or 6, then it shows the red box. And then it says you failed. It still increases tumbler total by 1, but it subtracts 1 from the tumbler result. So tumbler result was 0 to begin with when we started. If I fail twice, it's a -2, right? If I succeed once, it's a 1. If I fail, it's a -1, so now it's a 0 again. That's all it's doing. Then it adds 1 to that variable lock chest attempt tracking, right? Whether is it the first time, the second time, or the third time? Then it immediately checks. If, conditional statement, if lock chest attempt tracking is 3, clear the screen, set the player free. Else, end. If otherwise, just end, because there's still an icon to be clicked. And then this last common event, exact same thing. It turns off that switch for the third event up here, waits 5 frames, different variable, d6 roll times 3, 1 to 6. Now this time, remember, it was 4 reds and 2 greens. So if the result of that random roll is 2 or less than or equal to 2, it's going to show picture 6, green box, where it's supposed to be, success, adds 1 to the tumbler total, adds 1 to the tumbler result. Else, so if it's a 3, 4, 5, so yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's going to show this picture 6, red box, in the appropriate place. You failed, adds 1 to the tumbler total, subtracts 1 from the tumbler result. And then it's going to check here. I'm sorry, no. First thing it's going to do is going to add 1 to that variable, lock chest attempt tracking plus 1. It's going to check the conditional statement. If the lock chest attempt tracking is equal to 3, clear the pictures, set the player free. Otherwise, exit. This is why you can click any of those 3 icons. Doesn't matter if you do this one, this one, this one, or this one, this one, and this one, or this one, this one, and this one. When you do the third time, right, this will be equal to 3. It'll clear the pictures, set the player free. Until then, player stays trapped, pictures stay on the screen. Okay? So this tumbler result, it could either be a 3, a 2, a 1, or it could be a 0, it could be a negative, it could be all the way to -3, right? If you start at a 0 and you fail 3 times, it's going to be -3. So, and it could be as high as 3. So it can range from -3 to 3. Okay, so those are the common events. Now, but we're still missing something. So I clicked here, right? And essentially, what we're missing is this second page. This second page becomes active when the condition, the variable, tumbler total, is 3 or more. That's what those common events were doing. If the tumbler total is 3 or more, then this is set to auto run. So this page becomes active. So essentially, when we're in a common event, when we do the third common event, whichever one that is, whichever one of these ends up being the third time, when this tumbler total, right, whether it be here or here, when that hits 3, right, because every common event, it adds 1 to it. When that hits 3, then this page immediately becomes active. because the condition is met. The variable tumbler total is greater than or equal to 3. This page becomes active. It's set to auto run. That means it automatically starts doing what it needs to do. And then what it does is it checks a conditional statement or a conditional branch. If tumbler result is less than 3, so that means we didn't get all greens, it says you failed. Else, so if it's all 3, if it is 3, right, or higher, it won't be higher, but if it's 3, then you pick the lock. And then basically it resets the tumbler total to 0, right? Which means essentially it takes this condition away, right? Because it's setting it to 0, the condition goes away. That means this page is active again, ready to be started all over again. And that breaks the auto run. An auto run event will just keep running over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until you interrupt it. That's this is interrupting it. It's taking this condition away, so it stops the auto run, sends it back to this page. And that's all that's happening in here. Seems like a lot. It's not terrible. It really isn't. And then this event is pretty much the same thing. The only thing that I did differently was I'm still setting those 4 variables to 0, still freezing the player. Picture 1 is that locked chest. That's what's different, right? Picture 1 is the locked chest. And I had to play around with the designation and play around with the scale. And the reason it has to be picture 1, and I had to experiment to figure this out, is that you know, I tried just inserting this later on as picture 8, and what it did was it covered up all the other pictures. So this has to be picture 1, so that's setting the foundation, and then these other pictures are being placed on top of that other picture. And then everything else is the same. So this was from the previous crystal event, and so was this, and so was this. And the only thing that changed was the picture numbers. I had to make this picture 1, which means some of these changed a little bit. And that's it. All the rest of it's the same. It's still calling common event 60, 61, and 62. And the buttons are still in the same place. The icons are in the same place. The green and red squares are in the same place. And it's still turning on the 3 switches. By doing that, it triggers these events, right? Triggers these events, which these haven't changed at all, and it's still calling the common events. So the common event hasn't changed at all. So the only thing that changed between this event and this event is essentially the addition of this locked chest picture, and then I had to renumber these to make sure that they would show on top of the locked chest. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the only difference. So what I'm going to caution you is just make sure you pay attention. If you do try to recreate this, make sure you pay attention. Some of these are auto run, right? Some of these are parallel events. So it makes a huge difference, right? So remember a parallel event will exit. So when you get to the done, when you break the loop and you get to the end, a parallel event, it just ends. It doesn't keep running. An auto run, however, will run continuously. It'll just keep running over and over and over and over again. It'll just keep looping through here as an auto run until you break it. Okay? And so that's it. So again, this was from Wizard. I can't remember which Wizardry it's from, quite honestly. And what I would do is, obviously, there's lots of ways you could tweak this, and how successful people are, and how it's influenced. Like maybe their success is influenced by skill level of something, maybe an attribute like agility, luck. You don't have to use a die 6 roll, of course. You could use a die 20. You could use 100, right? 100%, whatever. That's all. You can tweak all that. This is just the functionality, the raw functionality of how to do that. The other thing that, let me just run this really quick just to visualize it. The other thing that I think the game that I was taking this from was that instead of having 3 individual presses, you could have 1 button. So you try to press one button and you try to get all greens with one button press. Why is that maybe better? Well, if I click here and it's a green, okay, that was good. Click here, well, that's a green, now it's not going to do it. Now, the last one was red, okay, fine. But if I click the first one and it's red, now see, it's not going to do it. Okay, now there we go. This is red. I already know I failed, right? Once the player figures out this mechanic, they already know they failed. They still have to click this other one. Now, what happens is that you could make it where the more reds you had, the greater chance you have of triggering the trap. So there's still an incentive to get a green here, right? Even if I know I failed on one of them or the first one, there's still an incentive to get a green, right? Oh, I failed twice. Maybe that means there's a greater percentage of the trap triggering. If I get 3 reds, maybe that's a better percentage of the trap triggering, right? It all depends on how you set it up. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. Again, this was from another game, Wizardry. I wanted to see if I could build it, and yeah, I think I got the core functionality down. And then this other one, this trap, this basically getting a jumbled set of letters to try to figure out a trap name. That's also from Wizardry. Wizardry 6, it does this, and then you still have a chance of setting off the trap, even if you do figure out the right name. And there's a couple other things that work with that, but I haven't been able to recreate all of them. I've recreated almost everything. And then just to give you an idea, these are all the chests that I built essentially to test this because I started building it in one piece and it just kept getting more complex, more complex, more complex. So anyway, that'll be another video. It's a pretty long event. Just to give you an idea, it goes from here all the way down there to make that work. So it is pretty long. All right, again, I hope this helps, folks. I guess this is like a on-screen lock picking event where you're trying to get individual tumblers and unlock them. You get to see that red-green switching as you're getting ready to click. If these are helpful, again, I'm just doing this to try to give back, help people out. If you do find these videos helpful, or if you at least appreciate how long this takes, it does take me quite a little, not only to build it, test it, figure it out, but then to record these videos, because sometimes I screw up and I have to start all over again. Sometimes something doesn't, I discover later on I screwed up and I have to re-record the whole video. That sort of thing. So if these are helpful, or if you at least appreciate the investment of time, please consider liking, subscribing, getting notifications, leaving comments. I do try to respond to all comments, and if you have questions, feel free to ask. If you try to recreate this and it's not working, feel free to leave a comment. I'll try to help you out. If you have a request for something, leave a comment. I'll see if I can help you out. And go from there. Other than that, folks, I hope you are having a great holiday season. Unfortunately, I have to go back to work tomorrow. I've been off for 3 weeks, so I'm not looking forward to that. But I have to go back to work tomorrow. But hopefully, you're having a great holiday season. Happy New Year's. Until I see you all again, have a great afternoon. Happy gaming, happy game developing, and I will talk to everyone later. Bye.